And hello again, and we are here in one more hangout. 9 tips, 9 very practical tips from very savvy travelers like our Sophie, Peter, and myself. So we will share with you guys what are our best tips, the thing that really saves our lives in traveling. So, Sophie, tip number 1.
Yeah. My first tips for all viewers are about packing, and packing is key to have a good trip and have a relaxed trip. And the first thing that you should do to get a better experience is to clean out all your bags, so you know you don't bring with you lots of stuff that you don't need. And this is for handbags, hand luggage, the big bag, whatever bags you have. Clean them out. Make sure that not even a piece of dust in there from your last trip, and that gives you a fresh start for your next trip. And when you're packing, it's very easy to be like, maybe you have like a personality that likes planning. My tips is for you to relax and don't pack too early, because then you start traveling in your mind already too early. And this is especially important if you've been on a trip and you are thinking, oh, maybe I should pack today, like 2 days before you're traveling. Then it means that your soul is already traveling. You know, be in the moment and be prepared. Have your bags ready and have everything organized so you can pack in half an hour, and don't spend too much time on that. And when you then have packed your hand luggage, it's key to have things with you so you can survive for the next few days. So, for instance, I was once flying to Tenerife, and Tenerife in English, and I didn't have my swimsuit in my hand luggage. Stupid me, my luggage came like 2 days later, so it was not fun. And then I was speaking in Shanghai at a conference. Pardon?
It was a topless thingy.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, so I was going to speak at a conference in Shanghai, and my luggage was not on the plane with me. So I was panicking, and I was out shopping in Shanghai. And it's very stressful when you're jet lagged, tired, and stressed, and you want to get ready for performing at a conference for 2 days. And you know, if you're a woman from Europe, you're much bigger than the normal Chinese sizes. So I was a giant in China trying to find something to wear at a conference. Finally, after being running around in shopping malls for hours, tired, you know, and people didn't understand what I wanted. They thought I wanted a boutique. I'm like, I don't like Gucci. You know, I would never wear that stuff. Give me H&M or Zara or Mango, like a normal shop. Finally, after a while, I found a normal, like they call it a super brand shop, and there I could buy a few things. And one of the dresses I got there, I got a dress, a suit jacket, and a pair of shoes. It's still my favorite dress because I had put such an effort into finding it. But anyway, make sure that you can survive for a day or two with the stuff that you have in your hand luggage.
Yeah, that's very true. I got that from my own experience in Japan, and I had the same issue. But at the time I was like fatter, so I was like really big. And in Japan, there are not many shops for sumo players, you know. So it was an issue. So thank you very much, Sophie. So what is tip number 2, Peter?
Okay, so my tip, which I learned from a friend who's a very experienced traveller, travelled a lot before I first travelled 31 years ago, and he taught me a very simple little technique, which is simply to always look behind you when you leave somewhere. So if you're travelling on a train or a plane, always check absolutely that you haven't left anything behind. And that's a bit different to making sure that you have everything, if that makes sense, because sometimes when you're doing that little mental checklist, have I got my phone, have I got my wallet, or whatever else, you might forget something. But whereas if you always look behind you, then you know for sure that you've left nothing. A simple example for me is that I will often have a mini iPod under my pillow that I might listen to something at night. And if I'm staying in a hotel or something, it would be very easy to just look at the bed and say I've left nothing on the bed, and walk out and then realise later that I've left my iPod under the pillow. So it's always a matter of pulling back the covers, the pillows, checking under the bed, all of that sort of thing in a hotel. But equally on public transport, and in fact I have this routine of checking behind me, but actually this week I actually for some reason didn't do it. And I remember I was catching a train into London, and as I stepped off the train I suddenly thought, oh, it's a bit chilly, I wish I'd brought my, oh my God, I've got my coat, it's on the train. So I was able to go back and get it. And I was thinking if it had been quite warm I wouldn't have realised that I'd left my favourite coat on the train. So in a nutshell, just always check behind you, look at the seat, look in the pockets, you know, underneath, and then that way you know for sure you won't leave anything, which as we all know becomes a real headache. It can become expensive and annoying. So that's my tip.
Yeah, that's a very good tip. Once I left a completely full drawer of things in, I think in Dallas. So somebody else, when came to the room, had like some shirts. I'm waiting for, so it was really. But
were they the right size? It wasn't a Japanese man, was it?
No, but I was in the U.S. I was the fat size at that time.
Yeah, so he was perfect.
Thought, okay, this will be good for cousin Larry, and no problem, because there is always a cousin Larry. And by the way, my third tip has to do with this. Because when I was traveling, I was getting fatter. Because when you go traveling, and especially if you do long trips, what you do is you eat when you can, and you really have like crazy things in terms of times, and also you are like eating whatever is available. So if it is like a huge cake because it's the only thing that you have for lunch, you will have a huge cake for lunch. And then it's and now I learned about this because I did a diet and everything. So I learned that okay, I just put useless calories. It was nice, it was good, but actually I will be hungry in a very fast time. So I will have to have another cake because it will be the other thing that is available. So I learned several things in nowadays. One of the important part of my packaging is I bring some special cookies that are like with fiber and non-sugar, sugar-free and things like this. And also I discover something that is very, very nice that I don't know why, but it's like when you talk about food bars, you always think about the fitness ones. Okay, they are good for snacks and things like that. But there are some bars, and there are several brands. So I'm not advertising any brand, that are called substitution meal bars. You can find it in Europe, and you can find it in the United States. It's available everywhere in the world, and those bars, and this for me was a surprise because those bars are like small like this. And when I was like almost 120 kilos, my nutritionist said, well, okay, you have to eat. And I said, well, I'm traveling everywhere. I cannot bring a small box with a salad with me or something like that, and with a fork, and it doesn't work, you know. I'm traveling, I cannot bring any yogurt because it doesn't go through security and things like this. So she said, well, there are these bars, you know, and these bars is like chocolate bars, so it's nice, I like chocolate, and they have all the minerals and things like a complete meal. So I stopping to eat lunches and dinners on planes, for instance, and I started losing weight. I stopped eating sandwiches and and cookies and things like this in airports. Funny thing, I started spending less money and eating much better. And one thing that is very important when you are trying to keep yourself fit, eat in proper times. So lunch is not one day at 4 o'clock and another day at noon. It has to be always in the same time, in the same time frame, so the body gets used to. Because if not, your body is primitive and it's like, oh, no food today, so let's accumulate some fat because bad days are coming. So that's the problem with traveling. So you get fatter, you spend more money if you don't have these kind of small things that are important. And by the way, drink a lot of water. And one secret, tap water is good in most of the places of the world. Don't buy bottles of water for €3 or £3 or $5 in airports. Too expensive, and by the way, even worse than tap water. So, Sophie, the fourth tip.
Yeah. Thank you about reminding about that water. I know that it's good for you get really dehydrated when you're flying, so you should drink like a liter during your flight at least. Yeah.
And by the way, Sophie, one more thing: don't drink with gas, things with gas. You will regret it when you are up there.
Yeah. Okay. Good for the good reminder. Thank you. Yeah. My tips is about the neck and how to sleep on a plane. And I don't know if you have noticed that some people sit and sleep like this.
You arrange a partner. You put like, oh, can I use your shoulder?
Yeah. And your head is very heavy. It's like 5 kilos. So if you don't have strong muscles here, you're gonna sleep in a weird position. And if you're sensitive, you're gonna have neck pain or back pain for the week when you're away. So tips number one is my tips about this is to exercise, do sit-ups and make sure you get like stronger muscles around here so you can actually support your head. The plank is good. There are other like exercises for the back that helps you. And if you're gonna fly for a long time, I've had some neck problems in the past, so I got myself. It's a very supportive neck pillow that you can put around yourself, and it will prevent your head from falling in different weird directions. And it has certainly helped me when I'm flying for like 10 hours or so when you need to sleep on the plane.
How heavy is that?
How heavy is that? Pardon?
How heavy is the pillow?
How heavy is the pillow? This one? Oh no, it's nothing. It's a few hundred grams. But the material is like a temper mattress, so it's very supportive. The other ones that I've seen in the airports, they are, very fluffy and they don't really help. And also, I've been warned that the blankets that you get when you're flying, they don't washed. So I felt quite disgusted by that. So if you're gonna fly for a longer time, you can buy like really thin, nice travel blankets at for £5. And you can leave it behind if you don't want to keep it any longer. But in that way, you're sure that you won't get any other person's germs on you when you're trying to sleep. So prepare for your sleep. You will get one of those what do you call it? Eye protection things. Maybe bring your own if you think that's nicer. You never know if that has actually been cleaned or not. So it depends on how sensitive you are to bacteria and how important it is for you to stay away from all the germs that are there.
Okay. Germs-free. Good. So, Peter, number 5.
Yes. First of all, just talking about the water drinking thing, what I've realised, and it took me a long time to wake up to this, is that you're allowed to take an empty bottle onto the plane. So. Yeah. I always make sure I take 1 or 2 empty bottles, and then as soon as I get on the plane, I just ask the cabin crew to fill the bottle up for me. So that saves buying it in the airport. So my next tip is to, when you travel, just enjoy it. I hear people moaning about traveling all the time, and yes, it can be stressful and difficult in certain ways, but a lot of it is your mindset and how you see the experience and what you make of it. So first of all, I travel in the UK on an intercity train when I go to London, and I probably go maybe a couple of days a week, 1 or 2 days a week, and it's a 2-hour journey. Now, the intercity trains are quite, they're fast and fairly comfortable, and I really enjoy that time. I always manage to find myself a seat sort of in a place in a quiet carriage where I can often end up having 2 seats to myself because I sit right up the back, and I make it my little space, and I get to do things that I love to do, like reading or watching a video or catching up on emails or whatever. And I really, really value and enjoy that time. And then you have the long haul flights, which of course I do from time to time. In fact, I'm off to Australia in a couple of weeks, so London to Australia is a very, very long flight. And my wife,
hours?
sorry?
How many hours?
It's a good 24 hours.
Ah,
Counting stopover, could be 27 hours. I mean, on this occasion we're stopping over for a day in Singapore, but sometimes we just do a 4-hour layover before the next leg of the journey. So it's a long way. It can be tiring, and my wife often complains, and she says, "Oh, I can never sleep on planes, and I hate it." No. And I just say, well, it beats walking. I think it's a miracle that we can step into this metal tube and, sit there for several hours, and then we get out the other side and we're in a different climate, a different culture, a different country. I think it's one of the great miracles of our time, and I love the whole experience. Yeah, sometimes it's a bit uncomfortable and so on, but you also do things to make it as comfortable as you can. I've started taking my own headphones. I've found a really good set that are quite lightweight, but they're much better than the ones you get on the plane, so you can have better quality sound when you're watching a movie. I get to see movies that I might not have seen, and I get to read, I get to listen to music, I get to just chill out. If I'm not off to sleep, that's great. If I don't, I'll check out another movie. I just enjoy the experience. You can take a bit of your own special food that you particularly enjoy, in case you're not 100% happy with what is served up to you. So I just think make the most of it and enjoy it. See the positive side of it.
okay. Thank you very much. That is so true when you are doing very long flights, because if you don't have like an entertainment plan for yourself, it is a problem. Okay, so number 6 from my side, make a checklist. When Sophie was saying if you like planning, I was like, yeah, it's me. I like planning. I have in my computer a checklist for traveling everywhere in the world. Everything that I normally take or from time to time take is on that list. I print it out. I start taking the things that are that I need, that I don't need. I have one column for quantities, because you might need 4 shirts and not shirts, and I have even a place where I can always see how many days and how many nights in order to see the clothes that I have to take. And that is very, very important, because many times I have to travel very fast, not that I'm escaping the country or something like that, but sometimes you don't have much time to pack because you have meetings in your own place, and you have to do the meetings, and then you have like 1 hour to pack. Sometimes I have been packing, and if I wouldn't have this kind of list, I would be crazy, because I would sometimes things like this happen. I'm delivering classes until 11 in the evening. I arrive home at midnight, and I have a flight at 6 o'clock in the morning, so I have to leave at 4 o'clock, and I have in the middle to do even some work. So basically I don't go to bed, and I have to pack in half an hour and go. And if you are like a zombie at 3 o'clock in the morning packing, it's better that you have like a good list, because you will forget something. So it's very important to have a good checklist. And you take more or less always the same things. So it's easy to do one. And nowadays you put it in the computer and you use it on the smartphone or in tablet, and you have it anywhere. So that is my tip number 6 for you. If there is any questions, by the way, from our audience, because we can always help in some traveling issue,
or any other tips,
or any other tips, that you can say, I have the best tip for you guys, and we accept tips that are advices.
And money.
We don't have still the PayPal system to receive them. So let's talk about money, Sophie, by the way.
Yeah, I have a money tips. When you are traveling on a train or a flight, you might have experienced, this is my pet peeve when traveling, you have a kid, a young person sitting behind you who has problems with their legs and they're kicking your seat. Ooh. It's very annoying. And, you know, sometimes their parents will look after them and say, don't kick the seat in front of you because the person will be disturbed. And sometimes there are parents who cannot really handle their wild kids. And in this case, it's really good to have something to bribe the kid with. And it's almost impossible to communicate with the parent because they will just sort of don't think it's a problem. You know, they don't see the problem that their kid is disturbing everyone else. And you can bring a £5 note or a €5 with you, and you can tell the kid, I give you this money if you promise to not kick my seat again. And you might have saved yourself some arguments with the parents, and you can relax and you don't have to think about this kid any longer during the trip.
Good. By the way, we have one add up to my advice of the checklist from Shafiq Mumani that says there is an Android app called Packing List Lite that is great. So these kind of lists are absolutely great because you can carry anywhere and you can do your list anywhere before traveling. So you are traveling with your soul already, using your smartphone, like Sophie was telling a moment ago. So, Peter, what is the next tip?
Well, this comes back to doing long-haul flights across time zones. So, of course, we all know that your body clock has to adjust, and I'm going to be going through the experience again shortly. And I learned this from somebody else, and it's partly a psychological thing, but you simply, when you board the plane, you set your watch to the time of your destination. So you start to think about yourself in that time zone rather than the one you're leaving. So it's just a simple mental adjustment. It doesn't make a massive difference. I think you'll still find your sleeping patterns will still take a little while to adjust. But to start thinking that way does help. And when you get to your destination, to also, like for example, if I fly to Australia, we arrive in the morning. Of course, my body's telling me that it's night time in the UK, and so the best thing to do is to do everything you can to stay up all day, so that when you finally do get to bed, you crash, and hopefully by the next day you've adjusted.
That's the same technique that I use when traveling east, because traveling west is completely different. But when traveling east, is one of the biggest mistakes that people do is, oh, I need to go to a bed and sleep, and in 2 hours I will be great. And then they don't understand why at 4 o'clock in the morning they are like, I'm awake. Yeah, because it's it's afternoon where you were, so it's the problem. So,
and it is harder going east because you're going the opposite direction to the sun. So yeah, it is harder.
Yeah, it is. It really works. You have to go like the whole day, and then you go to bed a little bit earlier than you, because if you go to bed at midnight or 11, you go at 8, and you sleep until 8 the next day, and you're okay.
Yeah, thank you.
It works really great. So, ninth tip, and the last one of the 9 tips that we have, and also we are welcoming tips from our audience, like we had just a moment ago. Um, it's a money issue here also. Um, Let me give you my experience when I'm booking hotels. Normally, you try to book in places, for instance, downtown or near touristic areas or something like that. If you are doing for leisure, and if you are, for instance, if you are in business and you are going to a conference, you go for the hotels near the conference hall and things like this. But the thing is that it's in big cities. I'm talking about big cities like Tokyo, New York, London, or something like that. There is a fantastic thing called subway. And if you start, instead of looking to the hotels close to these places where you have to go, but a little bit further, but on a subway line, you will get absolutely amazing prices, absolutely amazing different sale price. I give you an example that was shocking. Uh, I was in a conference in Osaka, in Japan, and most of my friends decided to go to the hotel just in front of the convention center. So they paid around 200 euros per night for a very small Japanese hotel room. Okay, and they were paying 200, almost 200 euros for it. I went inside those rooms, and when I was inside, I explained what I was spending, and they want to kill me because I booked for myself an apartment, okay, with a living room, with a small kitchen, with a room, and because it was a corner apartment, I had like 3 balconies that I could go outside and watch the 2 streets because it was in a corner. I had free internet. I had 2 TV sets because I had one in my room and one in the living room, of course. And I had, of course, a bathroom, a nice bathroom, bigger than they had. And I was paying 50 euros. The only thing is that I was 2 subway stops from the convention center.
And how long did that take?
15 minutes.
Yeah, brilliant, great idea.
Simple. Every time I go to these cities, I use these tools, the booking and things like this, but I use Google Maps at the same time. And I start checking. Okay, so here there is a subway station. You can save a lot of money. You really can save a lot of money.
So how did you find the apartment? Was that Airbnb or something else? How did you find it?
I found it actually through Booking.
Booking.
So at that time, Airbnb was not even in business.
Right. Okay.
So I found it through Booking. I do this. I even, if I'm not sure about it, I even go to the detail of seeing on Street View. Let me look around.
Yeah.
Let me see the place. Okay, it seems that okay. I see the access because some years ago you didn't have this kind of technology. I remember I booked one hotel in Washington that said near to the subway. Yes, if you want to walk for 1 hour. So it was really disastrous. So, and by the way, it was so funny because it was 1 hour to Union Station in Washington, and it was and I did this street, and actually I was with my father, and we walked very easily through that street. And when we arrived to Union Station, I went to the information desk, and I asked, well, look, I'm in this hotel to come to here. What is the best way? You have to go through this street. That it was the same street that I did. Okay, that street, okay. But the guy says, but I wouldn't advise you to go through that street. Why? Because you go through there and you go there and you get killed. And I had no, I was like frozen, and I didn't say, you know, I walked through that street for the last hour. So it is, it is really interesting. We have an extra tip. Shafiq Mumani is really giving us nice tips for traveling. A great prepaid card is Revolut. I don't know this one. The exchange rate they use is the interbank rate. Another bonus is the first time you load it with £10, they give you 5 for free, 90. So, guys, it was a very nice 9 tips. I think that we also learn with each other. Once again, it's always nice to talk with you guys, and I think people that hear this hangout and see this hangout will get the really nice tips, because these are the tips of people that travel a lot, and these are the best ones that we can give, and enjoy them because they are free. So guys, Peter, Sophie, once again, thank you very much for your sharing. It was a great hangout, and we will have more, because this is the nine fantastic things that you can do for improving your life, a series that we are now doing. So guys, thank you very much.
Yep.
Bye everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.